Hi, and welcome to Syrup Shots Gaming. I'm Tyler, and today we have a full roster with Phil, Dave, and Chris, aka my three dads. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good.
Good.
Yeah, real good.
It's good to hang out with people in person. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Before the recording, we were talking that this is the first time in literally 6 months since New Year's Day that we've all three been in the same rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I was saying to you guys too how I'm going to come for a visit soon. If we're all in the same room, then that's going to be the first time since the previous New Year's that we've all been in the same room together.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Wild.
Oh. Yep.
It's crazy what a pandemic can do.
Yeah.
But vaccines are bad.
Oh.
Made possible by vaccines.
Better living through chemicals. Yay.
I know this is a video game podcast, but one of my favorite YouTube videos, someone did a spoof of the Magic School Bus where it's all animated with her trying to teach anti-vaxxers on why not having them vaccinated means they can't come to school.
Awesome.
Oh,
That's hilarious.
It was fantastic. So this is kind of like a reunion with all of us getting together here. It's been a long time since all four of us have been on the podcast at the same time too. If we have been.
Early on, I think there were a couple of episodes.
I think there was one or two, yeah.
Before Mr. Hugo came into...
That's right. It's been, he's 3 months old now. I can't... I've been on a podcast, I think, since he's been born.
Time is a flat circle when you're a dad.
True words have never been spoken.
Yeah, you never knew that sleep was optional.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
No, he knew. We learned it in high school and college. It's just now he didn't expect to ever come back to it.
Yeah,
it's
you found out it was
so much. It's a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. It really is.
But worth it too, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, I mean, we have a beautiful, little boy growing up so very fast. It's amazing. It really is.
I'm just looking. Yeah, it's hard work, and you always have that fear that one day he's going to break your heart and say he doesn't want to play video games. He wants to go play football.
Oh. I have no son.
Well, it's kind of...
Yeah, that will be tough, but I'm going to try to be a loving and supporting father no matter what he's interested in.
Dad, I want to go play football. Fine, and here's Chris at the football. Oh, the ball's over that direction. No, it's over that direction.
Three concussions.
I mean, from a safety perspective, I'd rather he play any other sport,
Not even rugby?
Actually, rugby is surprisingly safer than football.
Because they don't have the padding, so they're like, oh yeah, we're not invincible. Good point.
And actually, some of that padding is actually more dangerous where it puts you as too rigid and will actually force bones to snap.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yep.
But again, this is a gaming podcast.
This is a gaming podcast. So let's do this. Reunion special here. What have you guys been playing?
Well, I guess I can start because I am fully on summer break now. So I think on the last podcast I said I had started up Resident Evil 2, the remake. Yeah. So as of last night, I've completely beat that. both Leon and Claire's campaign.
Nice.
So I've been enjoying my summer break, but I also Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday during the day was doing a lot of housework. So Thursday night and today, and Friday and today, I was like, I want to enjoy myself. So I sat down and really played Resident Evil. I really enjoyed it. As far as remakes go, it wasn't even so much as a remake as it was just like a reimagining.
Okay.
So think of it like it's like an echo almost. It sounds similar, but it's just like there's so much that's different though, but still so similar at the same time.
When was the last time that you played it?
The original
The
Resident
original, yeah.
Okay. Actually, my Facebook memories were coming back and helping me out with this, but I think it was the summer of 2012.
Okay.
Doug and I played through all of the Resident Evils that were out at the time.
Gotcha. So there's not too huge of a gap to where those like ruby, like rose tinted glasses
No.
kick in and go, oh, it looks like I remember.
Yeah. No,
Clearly not.
Yeah. No, I mean, we played almost all of them on the GameCube because that's what, for a while, the GameCube was the Resident Evil machine. I mean, it had Zero, the remake,
Sure.
the Dreamcast ports of 2 and 3, and Code Veronica, and then also 4, and then 5 was the most recent release. But we played through, so we played through the original 2 on it. And there's definitely some differences. Like there are some boss monsters that have now been made. Well, pursuing monsters that you cannot kill and just follow you throughout the game. But there's also been others though that were a boss fight, but now are more like, some big bad monsters that you got to fight. And so instead of just being one of them, there's like multiple. But it makes a bit more sense with how they've changed some of the levels out.
Like mini boss almost.
Yeah, and not even
like they're like a tough enemy, tougher than your usual like zombie, but not.
Yeah, think of it like it kind of reminded me of like how in some older games, like, and they still do this nowadays with games, but like you'll face a boss off early in the game, but then later in the game, it's now just like
A regular
enemy.
Yeah.
Think of it. So, like, if the original game it was the boss, now it's like the regular enemy version of it.
Sure.
But of course, now they're going for, and I think I said this before, the previous games are much more anime inspired, and now they're going for photorealism. They're so much grosser now and disgusting. So, but the monsters that I'm referring to are what's known as the G mutants. And in the game, in the original, there was a G mutant. He was a boss. Now, there's multiple of them, and they're like these little tough enemies, but they're big, they're gross, they're blobby, they're vaguely humanoid in some spots, and then vaguely like Akira Tetsuo monster in other forms. So, but I loved every minute of it. I will say though that I had a bit of a harder time going on the second run because I think it's one of those like adaptive difficulties. So if you're playing better, it gets maybe a little harder. But if you're playing worse though, or the game realizes also that you don't have a whole ton of stuff, it gets considerably easier. Because I got to the final boss, and you have to beat both campaigns to get to the real actual ending and the real final boss. Now, in the boss fight before that, I had a full chain gun that they give you to fight this boss of like 400 rounds. And I had probably like 10 grenade rounds and everything. And that guy took like all of my ammo to fight. So by the end, with this final boss, I had 20 pistol rounds.
Oh, jeez.
And it gave me enough so I had like 50 by the time I got, because you're fighting on a train. And that was enough to kill this guy, though. And, I was amazed, but I think that's when it kicked in. I'm like, oh yeah, I had heard it has like an adaptive difficulty. Now you can set the difficulty, so though, then I don't think it'll go beyond like a certain point, but there are still some times though when the tyrant or Mr. X who pursues you throughout the game, you turn a corner and he's right there, and you're just like, oh, why are you here? And you got to run and hide. But it was fun. I really enjoyed it. So that was me beating that on Friday. So today, I finally did start up Super Mario 3D World Bowser's Fury. And I probably plugged in about 2 hours on that. And I know it's not very long, but it is darn entertaining. And I could definitely see how that's going to be the future of... You could definitely see where that's where they're going to take the future of the Mario franchise, because it's this very large, open world version of like a Mario 64 or Mario Odyssey level. It's this big giant lake.
Okay.
And then in the lake, there's these islands that each represent like a different area of the lake. And it's just, wow, I could really see them do it. And the Fury Bowser mechanic it's a lot of fun. You just suddenly have Bowzilla, spring up out of the middle of this lake. And there's sometimes, though, where, because when he's active, he shoots like volcanic ash and rock everywhere, and then it gets stuck in walls, and so suddenly you have platforms to get to different areas, but you're also like dodging his giant fire blast breath and fireballs and such. And then there's areas that can only be opened when he destroys the blocks that only he can destroy. So it's kind of hectic at times, but I really enjoy it.
So do you have to like lure him over, or he'll like blow stuff up near you so you can complete the puzzle?
Yeah,
Find a collectible.
he tries to, because he starts in the center, and when he's not, he's like in his shell. And you slowly start to see a shell twirl and rise out, but then it starts to get faster and faster. And then when it starts raining in the game, you're like, uh-oh, here he comes. And then finally he's like, shoots out, and then wherever you are is where he'll tend to land near.
Okay.
So, if you want to get him to destroy an area of blocks, we'll try to be near it when he finally springs out of the ground, so he can do that. But I have fought him now as the giant Giga Super Saiyan Cat Mario 3 times now, and that's fun too. That's a lot of fun. Super Saiyan Cat Mario. It's ridiculous, but it is so much fun.
Nice. That's one I want to play at some point.
They also, I didn't realize, also they have a very nice system to store items. So you can hold up to 5 of each extra power-up. And you play with Bowser Jr. He follows you around and helps you squash enemies and stuff. So you can push up on the D-pad or D buttons and choose, like, I need a fire flower, and then he'll throw it at you, and then you get it. And so you can call those whenever you need them, as long as you have them. But they've also introduced a new power-up that is a hybrid of the Cat Bell and the Tanuki suit. In that, if you do a ground pound, you turn into one of those lucky beckoning cat statues.
Oh,
nice.
But you also generate coins as far down as you go.
Really is lucky.
Yeah, so if you jump off like a really high area and do a ground pound, it's just cash money all the way down. So that's
nice.
all I've been playing. I've taken advantage of my my summer break so far.
sounds like it. Gotten a lot of gaming in.
Yep.
Yeah. How about you, Chris? What have you been playing besides raising the next generation? Or I'll erase that out.
No, yeah.
What a game!
A game of life. And
Yep.
If you don't get crapped on.
Yeah, no. Recently, So I think a week or two ago, I bought the Xenoblade Chronicles remastered edition. I think that's what it's called. And because I've played two, but I've never played the original that came out on Wii. So this is a new experience for me, and I've been enjoying it thus far. I'm not too far in. I've basically I've completed the first chapter, which essentially means I've done the tutorial, and I now have found the MacGuffin that has started the quest.
Yeah.
Is it going to be like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, where the tutorials don't end until about 80 hours in?
Well, Monolith Soft apparently has a bad habit of doing that kind of thing, so I wouldn't be surprised if that continues with this game as well. Is that a thing, Dave? You've beaten Xenoblade
Yes, I've beaten
Chronicles.
Xenoblade Chronicles. I have Definitive Edition.
That's what that's the real.
But I haven't plugged it in yet since I've beaten it already, and also I beat it and I was playing it, and then they announced it, and it was coming out in 6 months, and I'm like, well, crap! Why? I was already halfway through the game by then, so I just went ahead and finished it. But I do hear you can play the additional stuff right from the beginning.
You can.
That'd be good. So I'll probably do that.
Yeah.
But I loved the game. The only problem I had, there are maybe a few things like that, but they're all mini game based, and to get some of those ether gems.
Oh.
And those are nice, but I never considered them absolutely necessary all the time, though.
Sure.
They were great for boosting your stats, though. So.
Yeah, no, that's their primary use case. Yeah, no, I mean that's the fun thing about Xenoblade games is that there's a pretty high strategy component, and if you're good at the game and learn the strategy, you don't actually have to do a lot of level grinding, which is novel for a JRPG because that's typically you're gonna get your butt kicked until you get your level up, and you can do this if you want to, but you don't necessarily have to.
Yeah, the only time also it was great in that. The only issues I had with the game, though, are the affinity ratings that you had between you and your partner characters. So there was certain sections you could beat up and chat with that character.
Is there another way that you can raise your affinity other than just in combat or
gifting?
Gifting, okay.
Yeah. So, but even then, gifting is hardly anything. So it got to the point, though. I was over 100 hours in the game, and it was getting to the point, though, I loved the game, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, I'm like, I've been playing this for a while now. I was ready for a new game, so eventually got to the point, I'm like, YouTube exists. So I decided to opt for that, and even then, some of them, but they're nice. They would give kind of character to, what are the interactions between these two people behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So
the affinity stuff's pretty cool. They do that in the sequel as well. And some of them, it's there's side quests for it.
Yeah.
But I haven't played enough of Xenoblade Chronicles to really know. I think I've done one, and that was just tutorial.
And then the side quests, though, a lot of the time are
they're fetch quests.
Yeah, they're always fetch quests, and even then, it's
this game is showing its age.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 10 years old or something like that at this point.
Well, Wii days,
Yeah.
Which I mean, that was pretty normal for a JRPG back then.
But a lot of the fetch quests are also random number generator based off of the enemy you kill.
Sure,
I got sick of that pretty quickly too.
They thankfully, did they do this in the original? In the definitive edition, they actually will mark those on your map with an exclamation point.
Oh,
you don't have to necessarily search them out.
Yeah, a couple of them, yes. But then also, I got to say though, there were a couple things that I picked up, and it's just clearly this item is special, but at the same time, it's just I never got the side quest to explain what it was that was so special about it.
Sure. And there are a ton of quests. I've completed the first chapter of this game, and I imagine there's a ton of chapters.
Hmm.
Probably at least like 10 or something like that. I don't know how long this game is. You said,
I put about like at 120 in there.
okay.
But I did a lot, and
But I've already done like 30 side quests.
yeah.
I mean, there's a ton of them.
And what's even worse, some are even timed before like a major event in the game that kind of changes the landscape of everything.
Sure.
Yeah. Yep. No, I love the game, but it's just like, yeah, you're right, though. It was kind of showing its age, Is 2 better about that?
About the fetch quests?
Yeah.
They are better.
Okay.
They're still
They're still there.
but they at least tried to make it a little bit more interesting.
Okay.
To where there was the one thing, and you'll either like it or you don't, is that a lot of the quests have multiple parts.
Oh.
So you'll do like the step 1, and then they're like, "Oh,
Mhm.
thank you for doing that. I also need blah blah blah."
Mhm.
Oh, why? You couldn't tell me that before.
Yeah. This would have been pertinent information to know yesterday.
But there's usually some sort of reason for doing. Like they tried to like make it have like more substantial story content with them. Not just, oh, I found a villager. Villager needs help.
Yeah. Or, oh, I found this villager, but he wants me to go kill this enemy. It looks like all the other ones, but this one has a name and is a little tougher. Maybe he's slightly a different color.
Now, the one thing you may not like with Chronicles 2 is the gotcha mechanic.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's go ahead.
You get your party characters, no problem. But there's also what are called blades. They're your partners, like Pyra and Mithra are blades to Rex. They are a character as well as a weapon. And some of them you get throughout the story. And then the rest are basically random drops from these crystals that you get.
Pray to RNGesus.
Yep, and there are several that are just generic. You don't care about. They have no story to them. But but then there's the 5-star ones, the ones that are actual characters, and will sometimes actually have story missions attached to them that you won't get unless you randomly get this character.
Yeah. Also, there's a ton of them. And I played that game for like 120 hours. I didn't come anywhere close to getting all of them.
Yeah, you're basically playing waifu Pokemon.
That's the other thing.
Pokemon Waifu Edition.
I remember playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2, like back in before the pandemic, when I, used to actually like travel for work and stuff.
The before times.
And playing that on the plane and just kind of like doing this. Because I felt so guilty of people watching me play that game, because it is definitely different in that respect than the original Xenoblade Chronicles 2. There's a lot of sexy characters.
Because the original, the worst you could do is maybe get a swimsuit costume for the character. But you could do that for every character, so you could have Shulk and Ryan running around in their trunks too, as well as Sharla and Melia.
Sure, I mean, and that's normal. I mean, and for a lot of anime style games, right?
It wasn't nowhere near what I've seen for Xenoblade 2.
No, there's like
just look at Pyra and Mithra.
Yeah.
Sure, there's like jiggle mechanics.
They had to censor them for Smash, just to put it in perspective.
Yeah.
It's so weird too. It feels the least like a Nintendo game in terms of themes and whatnot with sexual content.
Oh yeah, true.
Well, so does Bayonetta 2, but
yeah, it's interesting that she's like a Nintendo character.
Kinda, yeah. I mean,
Nintendo like forked up the money for the game, but Bayonetta is still technically a Sega and Platinum character.
True,
yeah. True, but Sega didn't want anything left to do with her, so
no, they mean
Nintendo,
for Nintendo, like Bayonetta 2 and Bayonetta 3 wouldn't be happening anymore.
Yeah, also Nintendo owns the look for Bayonetta 2. So that's why Sega doesn't use it, really.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Phil, what have you been playing?
I'm actually pretty happy having able to pick up MechWarrior 5 finally. I'm not sure if you guys are big on that series, but like it's been on Epic Game Store for a while, but they were gonna release it last year. So they released it. It really came out in 2019. They were going to release it on Steam a year later. I refused to buy or download Epic Game Store, so I waited. I actually delayed it further after Cyberpunk came out because they didn't want it to be coming out at the same time and lose sales.
Oh,
So they delayed it until they added DLC, and then they released it on Steam, which was like a week ago.
Oh,
So I've actually been playing that. I'm pretty happy with it. So I know we've played like the BattleTech like arcade.
yeah, those are the same universe, right?
Yeah, same universe, but they actually brought in some like different robots, which I was really happy with. It was actually like I was kind of disappointed at first because I'm like, oh man, like there's these certain ones that I played as a kid all the time, and then I'm going through and I'm like, these aren't here. Like I'm getting all these other mechs, and I looked at the list and I was like, oh man, they've got new mechs, and I was kind of disappointed. I went, wait a minute, they got new mechs.
Nice.
But yeah,
Nice. I think that just came to Xbox too.
Oh yeah, you're right. It did. It did come out on Xbox.
Okay, now, MechWarrior, who owns that franchise?
Grunt Games owns this one. It was originally, I think, Microprose.
Because
they sold it.
I was watching a video on YouTube for a series called What Happened?
Yeah.
And he goes in and analyzes like the great video game, just like travesty stories. So he did like Sonic 06 and Metroid Other M, what happened to cause. But he's also done some for like great successes to be like what happened that made it so it. But he did Demon Souls.
I thought you were going to say that.
And I watched it, and apparently Miyazaki from Software had been working on a ton of like really heavy like MechWarrior style games, and I'm like,
yeah, they made Armored Core.
That's the game series.
Yeah, they actually still own the rights to that.
Yeah,
they just haven't made one in a long time.
Isn't that on some list of like best games they want to see come back or something like that? Was Armored Core?
Armored Core would be cool to see come back.
I played a little bit of it. I didn't get too into it because I didn't realize it was going to be turn-based when I got it. But I think now, if I played it again, I probably enjoyed it a little bit.
I just found it fascinating because what had happened was From Software. I think what happened. I watched the video while also doing housework, like assembling shelves and stuff. But Miyazaki, the director for Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne.
Demon Souls is the first Souls game.
Yeah, he basically worked his way to be on that team. He had been stuck with Armored Core for like 2 in a row. But he always wanted to do like a dark medieval fantasy.
Yeah.
And what they originally wanted, they were contracted to basically make an Oblivion clone because they wanted something to kind of compete in the Japanese arena against Oblivion. And when he finally got a hold of it, they thought the project was dead in the water. So he's just like, I'm in a win-win. I can direct this and do whatever I want. And if it flounders, we already thought that the project was going to be dead on arrival, and I can just say, hey, I'm sorry, I tried, I couldn't save it. But I can still get to do whatever I want. So he did. The game did terrible in Japan, but it was one of those games where...
That's the crazy part.
Yeah.
Did you know that Sony published that game in Japan, had no confidence in bringing it to the US or outside of Japan at all? Atlas published it.
Yeah. And then it exploded. It's one of those few cases, though, where a Japanese game flounders in its home country, but Americans love it. Like, the biggest example he used in the video for that was No More Heroes, which had an abysmal Japanese launch, but exploded overseas. Because, I mean, it was made using the humor from the show Jackass and Johnny Knoxville. Of course we were going to love it.
Yeah. I remember that game, No More Heroes. Didn't they made 2 sequels, didn't they?
Yeah, they made No More Heroes 2.
It's like a spiritual successor.
They've made Travis Strikes Again, which It's kind of like a funny collection. He gets like sucked into a computer and has to go through all these different games. But they are making No More Heroes 3 now.
Oh, okay. So they announced it. That's what
Yeah.
Yep, where he gets to use mech suits and fight aliens.
Yep.
Yeah, I got a funny story about No More Heroes.
Does it have anything to involve charging up the beam saber?
And my dad walking in. So, watching or listening hasn't played that game. Your main weapon is a beam saber, and you charge it up. And at the time, No More Heroes first came out on the Wii, and motion controls were just getting started. And so, in order to make it interactive, you had to recharge your sword by shaking it. And I'm not kidding, like this.
So, for listeners, think like a shake weight. You know those useless quack medical science things.
So set up the scene for us.
So,
were you like facing the TV and he came in and saw you from behind?
So, it didn't like end up being that weird. Thankfully, he saw like I had a Wiimote, but he was also confused. So the concept was in the living room of our house. That's where we had the Wii set up, was in this front living room. My dad has the TV mounted like above a fireplace. And they were downstairs in the basement watching TV. And mind you, I had been playing this game for God knows how long with no problems whatsoever. And then I think I'm in like a boss fight, and I'm fighting something, and I have to start charging my beam sword, and I'm just like, and so my adrenaline's going in the boss fight, and I'm just shaking this thing for all it's worth, and then I'm
so angry with it.
Open, and it's my dad, and he just stops dead in his tracks, and I just kept going. And he looks at me and goes, "What the are you doing?" And I'm like, "What? I'm charging my sword." Because he could see I have a controller in my hand, just to kind of clarify.
Oh,
So he gets to carry it. But yeah, I was sitting there, and I was just like, "What?" And I tried to play it off, and he just shook his head and like went to the kitchen.
That's okay. It's no worse than Mario Party 8's Shake the Soda minigame.
Oh yeah.
So Mario is not immune or clean in this. Motion controls were weird at times.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, early days of motion control.
Especially warning them in.
Yeah.
Although I will say
the waggle controls, basically.
Mhm.
one of the best party games came from that era, though. Wario.
Oh, Wario.
WarioWare smooth moves.
It was, yeah. It was.
They should make another Wario.
You could have what, like 15 people play at once? I think, because you just kept passing the same.
It was great. And wasn't it like at the beginning they had a warning? It was just like we're gonna have a wide open space, clear of all objects, lose all inhibitions. Something silly.
Yep.
I remember playing that game. I played it at your house, didn't we?
Yeah.
Or at least for a
We
while.
used to
Yeah.
have a giant TV.
Yeah, there were a bunch of us in there.
Yeah.
Yep. Mhm.
Those were the days. 20,
Fun times.
12, 15.
Don't count.
Just stop counting.
Yeah. You're just gonna make yourself sad.
Yeah. Yeah, don't you know if you played a GameCube during high school, now you have to take ibuprofen for
your back.
Here's a better challenge. Try to stand up without making an audible sound.
Oh.
To a point now we're having conversations with my brother and my niece and nephew and what they're doing in college and hearing some of their stories, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I was about that age when I did something stupid.
Yep. Like when we would do syrup shots at Denny's at 6 a.m.
Hey!
Yeah.
All right, wait.
Podcast origin story.
Yep.
Hey, to be fair, it was better than some of the other things that were going around at that same time. Like
We could have went into far worse things.
Video games and anime, drugs would have been cheaper.
What's funny is people like listening to this and being like, that's what you guys did? Like, it was actually pretty mild. It was still like just dumb stuff, but it was mild compared to some of the people we have.
We lived in a suburban enough area, though, that St. Louis was the closest city to us, and it wasn't terribly far away, so we could get away with going there, but there was plenty of other things to go around, and so it wasn't like a small town mentality where there was nothing to do except, get hammered or liquored up or anything, because we had options. Maybe what we'll do is we'll bleep me saying the town name and fill it in with like Apple voice to speak with what we should say.
Well, I was gonna say, if we wanted to see that dumb stuff too, we always knew where to go. Our friend's house,
Exactly.
the Moose Lodge.
Oh, the Moose Lodge. It wasn't an actual moose lodge. That's just what we called it.
Yeah, you would never find a more larger hive of scum and villainy. Things that
Well, we did
saw.
live when the skate corral was around.
I just remember one of our friends one day was making a sandwich in the living room in the corner behind a lamp, and I asked him, "Why are you making a sandwich here?" And he just looked at me with this like total look of desperation, going, "It's the only clean spot left."
In those really rough days, I think even at that point there were a couple people that had started to move because of it.
Yeah. It also is the origin.
Time we're in college, everyone's your buddy. So we started getting people in the group that it's just like, who are you and how do we know?
Didn't that happen at a couple parties where there would be one or two people there that'd hang out and they'd leave and be like, did anybody know that guy?
Who was it?
No, I thought you invited him. No, I didn't invite him. Where did he come from? We never see them.
Yeah.
Randos.
Yep,
Randos.
Yep.
But one of those randos did leave me with one of these lines that I still use to this day. Everything's fine. Where are the paper towels? Hey, real fast here.
The Moose Lodge was near the local jail, right?
Yes, that was the jail that they hit tennis balls that they lit on fire with golf clubs.
That's what I was trying. Like they shot flaming tennis balls at this jail, correct? I was trying to remember.
That is correct.
I thought I was going crazy.
What are some of the other things that happened there? You never went in the garage. You don't go in the garage.
No, you don't go in the garage. Didn't they try and make it into a hot box?
Yeah.
Either that or you would have one of the guys walk out with his pants around his legs.
Okay.
Followed by a woman 20 years older.
It's shake and bake, I helped.
Oh, fun times. Fun times. So, last week we did a predictions episode, me and Dave.
We did. E3.
Oh, yeah.
The E3 season is upon us.
Right.
So, I'm going to ask you guys here, kind of similar questions. What's something that you highly expect to happen? One of the things that you're not sure if it's going to happen, but it would be cool if it did. And crazy town banana pants fever dream prediction.
So I do think at the Bethesda slash Microsoft conference, they are going to show off Starfield. I think that is a for sure thing going to happen.
Now, question for you. Do you think it plays like Fallout and Elder Scrolls, or do you think it's something brand new?
I mean, it is coming from Todd Howard. It probably will be, I would imagine, a sci-fi version of Elder Scrolls. Hopefully, in a brand new engine that's not janky. They got Microsoft money now.
They do, but they've been working on it before they had the Microsoft money.
True. But, I mean, they've had, however, long they've been working on it. They've had, since the end of last year to polish and really use the resources that are available to them.
Yeah, and I think they learned from Fallout 76 that they can't just keep doing what they've been doing. They actually have to innovate.
True. I believe I remember reading some sort of article that basically said something along the lines of Bethesda really tried to make it work. They tried so many different avenues to make money without and not Fallout 76, just in general, right? With all the different types of games that they were putting out, they were kind of just throwing stuff at the wall. And they thought with Fallout 76 that that was something that could make them a lot of money. Clearly, it didn't really work out that
I guess that's the problem when you come at it from just the standpoint of making a lot of money, as opposed to
Sure.
let's make something that people will enjoy and then give us money for it.
And I mean, it's kind of the problem that you know. I mean, I love Square Enix, right? They're one of my favorite publishers since I was a kid playing video games, but they run into that problem as well, where you know RPG studios, they take forever to make a good role playing game, right? And sometimes they don't get it right. Then you know that can be some of the disastrous decisions can be choosing the wrong engine, or you know, really, you know, flubbing the story, the actual like design of, you know, the combat. I mean, there's a lot of different systems because it's a very systems based type of genre, and I mean, there's a lot of things that can bring the whole house of cards down. So that a long time it takes to make. I mean, you know, unless you've got like a classic game, and this is where Square, I think, can help themselves. I think anytime that they start hurting for money, you see this remaster come up. They're like, let's bring this out of the vault.
Oh, so you also saw the trailer for Dragon Quest III.
Where Bethesda, I mean, yeah, they've been around forever, but I mean, that was never really been their MO, right? I mean,
Oh, the vault.
Yeah.
Vault.
I mean, Nintendo does it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a great strategy for a publisher.
Yeah.
If
I think
you
it's
can get to that point.
that day too.
It's its 35th year anniversary and Zelda's, and they haven't done crap for it yet.
Have they even acknowledged Metroid's anniversary?
In a Smash Brothers event.
Yeah.
Kind of nothing.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, at least we're getting the, you know, Skyward Sword game. So that's something for Zelda.
Yeah. I am wanting to try and play that again, because honestly, that's my favorite Zelda for story. I do want to try it in the new...
Skyward Sword and the timeline, is that the original?
It's the beginning.
The beginning? Yeah, that's right.
So I want to try it with this new system to, you know, use the sword controls as the right thumbstick.
Yeah, I want to play that on my Pro Controller for sure.
There you go.
I'm going to be like Metal Gear Rising Revengeance with the sword slashes. Cut it up into a million pieces.
I actually own Skyward Sword and never played it.
Yeah.
I know. I bought it on the Wii a long time ago.
I know some people, though, absolutely could not understand the motion controls and just couldn't do it. I can't play it.
The thing
early on, it was counterintuitive.
Yeah, well, not only that, but you know, kind of really the Wii Motion Plus. That was something that really benefited a lot of those Wii games, and
that should have been in there from the beginning. They should.
Yeah. So if you didn't play it with that, you ended up with a different experience. And you know, I don't know, some of the motion control stuff has a tendency to be pretty gimmicky. So
if the game requires you to do extensive homework to learn how to play it, probably it's not going to be very good. Like, you know, Star Fox Zero. I don't even know how many times I had to play that training until I'm like, I got it.
That still breaks my heart.
Yeah. It's just, they shouldn't have shoehorned the... I understand why they do it. They wanted to have a Wii U game that actually justified having two screens.
Sure.
But it's not like a 3DS or a DS where, you know,
Yeah.
well, the other screen's right here as opposed to the one right here. Whereas here, I literally got to look in my lap. So unless I want to play like, you know, this, which no one wants to do, your arms get tired. So
Sure. And even then, I mean, there are a ton of games I'm playing on the DS where like the second screen was like my inventory screen or the map.
yeah, which is nice.
It was nice, but I mean, you certainly don't need that on a TV.
Yeah. You don't need the, yeah, but it was nice though for like Zelda's, you know.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh, my inventory's right here. I want to use this item.
Yep, and you literally just clicked on it. It was great.
And that was actually what was great for the DS and the Wii U at times. Really, just the touchpad became an extra set of buttons for you.
Sure.
Yeah, DIY buttons.
Mm-hmm.
Phil,
Yeah.
any predictions, thoughts for the year?
You know, I gotta be honest. I don't know. I'm not sure what's gonna happen. My biggest prediction, and this isn't just for E3, but I will say that I think this is the generation. So let me back up. I've thought for a long time that there was eventually going to be a very blurry line between consoles and PC gaming. They were going to start to merge eventually, where essentially a console would become a glorified desktop that you buy in your house. It'll have some exclusive content, like a streaming device, and it'll have like some exclusive stuff that you can buy for games. And other than that, it's just a computer you can put in your living room. I think this generation is going to be the beginning of that line merging. Because as we get further and further into gaming, more and more games are talking about crossplay.
Sure.
More and more games are becoming. They've talked about backwards compatibility with the new Xbox. They've talked about
Sure.
more interactive interfaces.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even now with the PS4, you can hook up a mouse keyboard, and you know, even the Xbox.
I mean,
so
they are literally computers. They're
Mhm.
It's an x86 architecture.
Right.
So
and people and I mean, I think everybody just kind of forgets that where it's just a computer, but it has all this other content. But the
And really, they always were.
interface.
It's just, you know, back in the day, it was
more and more.
Yeah,
for
mhm.
sure.
I don't think the technology was there as much for it to be so much of what it was and still have the interface you would need. I think
Sure.
that interface has been improved.
Mhm.
What made it a little different was back in the like cartridge days, because the way that you had to like put the game on the cartridges, and the fact that like some cartridges actually had flipping RAM in them.
Yeah, and
Right.
there was no patches or anything.
No.
It's just
No.
yeah, the version of a patch was literally releasing a different cartridge. Now there were some games that did do that. I would argue that all iterations of Street Fighter that improved were basically a patch.
Sure.
But there were some games, though, and I know this because of our lovely, some of the lovely items we used to be able to buy in stores called Game Shark.
Oh yeah.
But it used to be you'd go and I want Legend of Zelda cheats for Game Shark, but then it would ask Legend of Zelda version 1.01 or 1.02. And I finally looked up what it was. It was because in the original Ocarina of Time, there was some like light chanting in the background of like the fire temple. And
It sounded like demonic music, right?
That sounded like what?
Demonic music?
Kind of, or potentially religious, something like that.
Like a Gregorian chant?
No, not even a Gregorian. It was more like, I want to say maybe more like Muslim chat, or Muslim chat, yes. You know, that lovely Yahoo group they used to exist. No, but that kind of like chanting music, it was like religious in nature. I know that. And Nintendo was just like, you know, let's not do this. And then also they eventually edited the original symbol for the mirror shield because it kind of looks like the Star of Islam just turned to the side slightly.
Oh, okay.
So they're like, well, we best not do that. So they changed the symbol for that as well. But on subsequent different versions of the cartridge, it was like a running change thing. They didn't advertise it, you know, they didn't, and there was no patch to be like, oh, what was updated? Let's go data mine this, you know?
Yeah.
Good. Mm-hmm.
So your what was your guess? Is that they're going to become more like PCs?
Yeah, so I guess my prediction is going to be, and I would assume this would come from Microsoft, but my prediction on this E3 is that some console is going to announce some sort of new interface that allows it to act more like a PC.
Like what? Like Steam integration?
Like Steam.
Honestly, one direction that would kind of make sense with the pandemic is if kids could start using stuff like Microsoft Office on the Xbox. You would have a personal PC at your house. You wouldn't have to buy a desktop, and you'd have all the interface you need right there in your home and your living room with your gaming console.
Yeah, we can get on Google Classroom using the Xbox Kinect.
So
yeah,
doesn't it kind of already have that though? I mean, almost anything you need a computer for is browser based now. You can do Excel, Word, PowerPoint all through a browser. And
the interface isn't quite the same as a laptop or a desktop PC. I think that's what their big change is going to be. Is they're going to try to make it more user friendly, so that it's thought of. So that way, it changes the thinking of it more. People don't usually think homework when they think Xbox. They're probably.
You can. There's mouse and keyboard support for the
now,
browser, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no reason why you could do that.
I mean, they can. I think there might be some kind of big change. That's like whatever it may be. If it's they change the interface or they make it more forefront, maybe they just change their marketing. Because like I said, a lot of people don't think about mouse and keyboard interface or any kind of,
So Microsoft Xbox now with Windows.
Right. That's like it could literally be something that simple of just like, oh, you're gonna have a Windows 10 integrated interface on your Xbox that you can now convert files back and forth to your computer.
So the only reason why I don't think that they'll end up if they do it, I don't think they'll make a big stink about it.
Right.
The only reason why is they got burned when they did that whole Xbox One. Like, we're gonna be like your one media console, like your one entertainment machine in your living room. That didn't work for them at all.
Now,
well, it also didn't help that at the time they were also hot on the coattails of, you'll always have to be online, even for your on-disc games.
yeah, true. And
come to find out that might actually be true if your clock goes out.
Phil, something that might actually add credence to your theory here. Microsoft is aimed to announce their new version of Windows, like to replace Windows 10 in June. And if memory serves me correctly, the Xbox infrastructure is based around the Windows experience.
Yeah.
So
that could be. They might expand on that. Like I said, I didn't have anything specific. I can see that being a direction, especially since Microsoft has really. I think you and I talked about this before, Tyler. Where Microsoft has really been pushing in like features and quality of life stuff on their console, not as much on exclusives. They'll probably bring out some exclusives. They're probably going to bring up some more.
Xbox is a service now. That is the pitch for the Xbox as a brand these days.
So I just
on this a little bit.
It could be something small. It could just be something in marketing. So I don't have like anything specific, but just
to be
some shift.
Microsoft Windows 10, very efficient OS, actually doesn't require a whole lot to run it. Maybe.
And it does. To me, it makes sense. And like if they're going to be having a new OS, if they're going to get rid of Windows 10, start fading that out. Before they had, what was it? They had certain OSs to work on different interfaces, right? Windows 8 was for touchscreens. Windows 7 was.
And they tried to that was the biggest mistake they made with Windows 8 is they tried to shoehorn that into like everything.
And they brought up Windows 10, and then Windows 10 did have a lot of integration between desktop and home console. Well, if they're coming out with a new OS and that console's base is that OS. I mean, maybe they might be able to shoehorn it better, possibly. I'm just a nerd.
Sure.
So Phil, you were talking about integration and like maybe getting Steam on there. I don't think that there's any chance that Microsoft will get Steam on there, except, and I'm going to throw out a crazy prediction now, okay?
Crazy Town Banana Pants?
What if Microsoft announces at E3 that they're purchasing Steam?
Did they buy Valve?
Oh, the
Buy
my
Valve.
God, I would cry.
Why would you
It be
cry?
cute. I don't know, because I'm actually for all their flaws, I actually really like Valve, and I could just be a fanboy because I've seen a lot of the stuff they come up with, and they seem to care about the gaming community as a gaming community more than Microsoft does. Just from my personal opinion, my observations. Because when Valve releases a game, they also release the source code. They're very involved with pushing development of
When they release the game?
Yeah,
when they release a game. When it happens.
Yeah, the only
they do
way
a
we could
good job.
I mean, with the exception of like Half-Life Alex, they've done like diddly
Right.
The only way that announcement could be cool for me is if Microsoft goes, "We're buying Valve, and we can count to three times."
Yeah,
I mean, you know, it's bad when the screenwriter or the script writer for Half-Life 3 releases the entire script so we can, find out what the hell happens.
Yeah.
I-
No,
I-
that's I've maybe not in recent years, but I've always said that Microsoft doesn't make good games. They buy companies that make good games. So they buy Valve, they might shift some of that, and that's that could be nothing. But
Well, I mean, yeah. Well, also, Tyler and I have talked about this previously. It also doesn't seem so much though that they buy the company sometimes, but they'll buy the IP. So,
right,
like the Halo franchise and the Gears franchise
Gears, yeah,
are now
that's exactly what
synonymous
happens.
or Microsoft, but
Yeah.
it's those teams wanted to move on, but at the same time, I don't think they necessarily wanted to be owned by Microsoft. So they're like, okay, but can we buy Halo and Gears? Oh yeah, sure.
Well, I mean, look at Epic. They're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
They didn't need to just be a Gears of War
Mhm.
maker.
Mhm.
No, now they're just Fortnite maker.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And again, not hating on Fortnite too much, but I was still every now and then kids are like, "Didn't that start out as like a zombie horde battle game?" And then
Yeah.
yes, it did.
I will say, if you're looking for battle royale, another game I've been playing recently is Apex Legends. That's actually not bad.
Isn't that in the Titanfall universe?
It is.
Respawn
Yeah.
made it, but
Respawn is
Respawn's
probably
legit.
EA's best studio
Mm,
at
and
this point.
I could be wrong. I've only been playing it a little bit, but the community doesn't seem as toxic as Call of Duty.
mm.
Oh,
Call of Duty is just ridiculous.
I mean, that's like if you want to play with a 14-year-old that's going to call you, an inappropriate swear word,
Mhm.
play Call of Duty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't help.
It's a good thing you don't have to actually talk to people playing that game.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That does help.
We should start talking to kids like as Thor does in Endgame.
You know what?
So he called me a dickhead again.
A troll. I found a very successful strategy is just call them kid. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
they get burned to it. I'm not a kid. Oh, okay, kid.
Mm.
I'm 25. Yeah, you're not acting.
You certainly act.
You sound like you're 25. Sure. Okay.
Tell you what, why don't you give me a call back whenever you hit puberty?
Hey, Taylor, go in the fridge and go grab a beer. Go buy a beer. Oh, you can't.
Ask your mommy if she'll buy you a beer.
I'm 25. Quit trying to pretend just because your balls dropped. Come on.
You call them kid, they just go. Oh my! They immediately get fired up.
And that's why I keep voice
Kid
chat
all the
off.
time, especially at work, because with students, it's just I'm not supposed to shout out like hey you guys, because guys refers to male, so
Sure.
so sometimes it's also just like I am terrible with names. I remember a person's face before I will remember their name.
So you don't want to just go, hey, you.
Exactly. So, hey kid, how's it going? And it works because no, you're going to be 18 and under in my classroom. So yeah, it works.
Hey kiddo, what's up,
You see
sport?
a lot of kids too, don't you?
Oh yeah, and the pandemic has not helped because again, I recognize faces, but when half of your face is covered, it's really just revealed to me that I wouldn't recognize Superman as Clark Kent because if I can't see the lower half of their face, I don't know who you are.
That's a really good disguise, though.
Just like when I saw the picture online, it's just like, who is this? That's Zoe Deschanel. No, it's not. She doesn't have bangs right now. What?
Well, I've read that, like, who was it? Robert Downey Jr., didn't he lose a Robert Downey Jr. look-alike contest? Or, like, some other celebrities are, like, losing their look-alike contest. They're like, oh, they placed third.
Wow. That's hilarious.
That's funny.
Didn't oh gosh, that reminds me that actor who played Walter White, he actually went to a
Bryan
Comic-Con
Cranston.
Bryan Cranston, and he went to a Comic-Con dressed in character, and everyone just thought that he was just some guy doing cosplay.
Yeah, when he fucking goes up on stage, he pulls it off. He basically wore like a life cast mask of himself.
Fun fact, did you know that the reason why Bryan Cranston was cast in the Power Rangers movie was because he used to do the voices for the villains in the original series?
Yes, I did know that.
Yeah, I did not. That's pretty cool.
Yep. Well, he was also. Well, did he? I thought he did more than just the villains. I thought he did somebody else.
I think he mostly just did villain voices.
Villains, yeah. Like he did multiple villain of the week characters.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
No, he was named after one of the other characters. Is what it was. Billy.
Yeah, Billy
Oh,
Cranston.
Billy
Yeah.
Cranston, yeah.
That's what it was.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Well, anything else you guys want to go over tonight for this episode?
Well, we might as well continue our weeks-long discussion about what's more appropriate, being too sexy or not sexy enough in video games. So apparently, this past week was Aloy from Horizon, and how her new look is so masculine. And I'm like,
you know what?
he is in a post-apocalyptic.
People can go F themselves.
I know.
I'm sorry.
They're so stupid.
Well, and some people are so mean. Like some of like the Twitter feeds I saw, like saying how like she put on some weight in like the last 6 months. I was like, screw you guys.
So
They're
I'm
like,
gonna take a
she doesn't look really good like she did in the last game. I'm like, she looks really close to the exact same, I thought. And
They updated her character model.
yeah, and
She looks like a real person.
And I'm like, this is a post-apocalyptic world. No one is supposed to be pretty. I'm sorry, Hollywood has not helped with the Mad Max movies.
So
like
I'm gonna,
movies.
I'm gonna take a hot take here. I am not a fan of the Aloy look, and here's why.
Sure.
Her teeth are too perfect. If you're in a post-apocalyptic world, there should not be teeth that nice on anyone. It should be all like Victorian London style teeth.
Gotcha. So my only complaint from the like
Well, no, that's spoiler territory.
my only complaint from the look from the state of play that they showed off, I did find it a bit jarring how they had like her whole hair like lit up. That's my only like.
Like the lighting was off.
The lighting.
Oh, well, that's something that can be fixed.
That's
sure
legitimate reason to not update. Like the lighting is weird. Her teeth are perfect in a post-apocalyptic world. People are getting literal. Did you see the guy who restructured her face, put makeup on her, and had her smile?
I know. Yeah.
There's a guy who posted. He's like, "Oh no, they don't understand how women should look. They need to have."
You know what's funny about this?
It's like, they don't understand. I'm like, geez, no.
Bleep that.
This guy's clearly got issues. Then.
You know what's funny about that?
Like, oh, see, that's better. And put like makeup on her, and she's
Almost like a geisha with a doctor.
Yeah, I was gonna say the funniest thing about that picture is how horrified she looks for being objectified.
The real Aloy, she's muscular. She saves the world, but at the same time,
She fights robot dinosaurs.
Arrows. So, of course, she's gonna look like a well-toned, athletic bitch. People are stupid, and I don't understand them at times.
I keep saying there's a lot of weebs in gaming, man.
I don't even call that weeaboo.
No.
It's more like just
It's
misogyny.
Yeah.
I just mean like they just have this like I don't know that. I'm trying to think how to put this in PG-13. It's they have a little too much of a connection with that character.
Oh,
Sure.
Like
an
that-
obsession?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like there's like a
These-
sexual obsession with their video game characters. They really don't.
Oh, yes, I encountered that.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
These excessive fanboys are thirsty.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thirsty. Yeah.
It's like you're treating this video game character like they're a real person.
How bad do you have to be when you're a simping white knight for a fictional name? I've called him out for that before. It's just, I find it so weird, but at the same time, it makes for wonderful storytelling among us.
Sure.
It's just, we were talking the other day, though, on another podcast with Guilty Gear. They're not being sexy enough, And
Yeah, I don't know if you guys
too
listen-
sexy. It's not sexy enough. Okay, what's the line, you dorks?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys listened to that episode, but people are furious that the time-traveling witch no longer takes off her shirt and goes completely bare-chested away from the camera for a victory pose.
Yeah, she would flash the background in the game.
They were complaining that
Now-
she was flashing the background of the program.
Oh, yeah. But
Yeah,
she's
now-
not doing that no more.
Now she has a bra.
My excuse for the reason why is because this one is in 3D as opposed to 2D sprites, so they're upset that they can't turn the camera around when they do a boundary break in the game. This is going to make it harder for us to make our nude mods.
That's the weeb crap I'm talking.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
It's beyond
Mhm.
a weeb. though.
Yeah.
Like there's a level
fair.
of like
I didn't even use Weeb correctly, I think, because Weeb is like obsessed with Japanese culture and basically wants to be Japanese.
Oh, I thought it was just like any kind of obsessive to like any female character.
a weeb is like I consider myself to be like a Japanophile. Like I love Japanese culture and Japanese anime and
But you're perfectly content being American.
yeah, no, I'm like, but there's like,
most of the time.
I mean, there's been times in my life where I've come pretty close to that border, right?
yeah.
So like, I don't want to say like I resemble that remark, but like,
Yeah, I'm kind of like treating weeb
we're
as
getting on fine green here.
Weeaboo was dug in high school. I'm sorry for that slam against my brother, but even he, I think, at this point will be like, "Yep."
I was using it like almost synonymous with like neckbeard.
No, neckbeard is its own thing, but
Yeah,
but
Yeah.
they do overlap constantly.
Okay.
yeah.
Yes, the
The
great
dynamics of weeb versus neckbeard.
that Venn diagram between weeb and neckbeard is almost a circle.
We talk about nerd.
There's the episode title. Wonderful. Tyler's going to have a wonderful time editing this episode. Good God.
Well, you've just made the thumbnail very easy. I'm just gonna do a circle with neckbeard and weeb.
It almost looks like the TikTok logo, where it's just like two circles, almost fuzzily.
Yep. Real fast here, Phil. Next time we record, check the settings for your microphone. I think you've got some noise canceling built in where it's cutting you guys off a lot. Especially like when you're getting louder or laughing a lot, it thinks it's background noise or whatnot.
No.
So we'll talk about that.
It just kind of cuts out. So what I was going to say though, it's going to make my job easy because a lot of the things that I need to edit out have already been edited out.
That's good. Okay.
Hooray.
Yep.
You didn't intend that, but it's what happened.
Sometimes life gives you little gifts.
Yep. This actually worked out really well.
Oh, so before we go, so I'm continuing my quest with Monster Hunter Rise, and I just got to what I think is the last monster of the main game.
Okay.
Wow, you're
And it had
blowing through that.
I'm an hour a day, there's still a lot left to do. There's a lot of grinding left. But anyway,
A Monster Hunter game, so no surprise.
they introduced a really cool mechanic though for this last monster I wanted to kind of talk about. So
Okay.
this last monster is in one specific new area. It's like an arena of an old abandoned fortress. Okay. And it's an electric like serpent thing. So whenever it like gets overcharged, bits of the ground kind of fly up into the air like electromagnetism. And when it does that, some of the platforms have cannons and ballistas from the old fortress that you can then hop up onto and use.
Nice.
It basically just pulls it out of the ground, and then when it slams back into the ground, they disappear.
Hmm.
I have not seen a monster change the terrain to give you advantages like that in Monster Hunter before, so I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
What's this monster's name?
Is this a new
You-
monster?
It is a
All right.
brand new monster. Hold on.
Okay.
Because there's one I've always wanted to fight, but at the same time, it looks like a giant leech with wings. The Kezu.
Oh, I have fought Kazu. Kezo's creepy.
Okay. It's like a giant white leech with wings.
That's one thing to say it looks like.
Oh my.
It's if you want some foreskin armor.
Oh. Please don't make that the episode title.
I wonder what kind of audience view we'd get from that.
Oh, man.
So
But just like the Swingers audience, they'd be 100% disappointed.
so what this monster is called is Narwa. It's a new monster.
Okay.
And it actually has a partner monster that's an air one, and I think with the new true ending, you have to fight them both together because they're kind of like yin and yang together.
Interesting.
Hmm.
All right.
Again, I have a lot of work left to do in this game.
So, with you being as close to the end in Monster Hunter Rise, how does it stack up against World? Like, is it night and day? Is it more of the same? I know we talked early on about it.
So what I would say is the actual like visuals, the Monster Hunter World is gonna win out, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of mobility and mechanics, I think Rise wins.
Okay.
And they did something I didn't think they could do. They made the palicos useful.
That's nice.
So
they were fairly useful.
So with this new one, they actually will consistently lay like a healing plant that works like the when you put more like the one that stays going so everyone can use it.
The health boosters.
The health booster, yeah. And they will tell you when it's ready to capture, so you don't have to just look for it.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
But if you have a team of just two of the dogs, it won't tell you. Then you have to look for it limping.
Okay. So do you primarily play this single player, or do you like have play with randos on the internet?
I had been mostly doing it primarily a single player. Now I am starting to do a little randos, but even that is better than World. So what I'll do is I'll go to the board and I say, I want to find a match of this mission. And it will just pop me into one.
Oh, there's actual matchmaking. It's not just
Yes.
like don't do the mission and then throw a flare or whatever.
Correct.
That's cool. On Nintendo.
I know, it's crazy.
That's impressive.
And the online actually works well.
Okay.
It doesn't lag. The game's a solid 30 FPS. And I think that's just a testament to the RE engine. That thing is stupid impressive and scalable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Capcom built a winner there.
And part of me is really hoping that whenever this Switch Pro comes out, that'll offer 60 FPS. Because I have...
Did anyone make that prediction, actually?
I made a prediction for the Switch Pro, but not that one specifically about Monster Hunter.
Okay.
No, my prediction for the Switch Pro was my Crazy Town one, where the Switch Pro will also allow you to play GameCube games, and will come with a new controller that they'll call the Switch Pro controller that will have adaptive triggers and analog triggers like the GameCube had.
Oh God! Why not just call it the Switch Elite controller?
Well, I mean, it kind of follows their pattern with the Pokeball Plus Plus.
That's fair. That is a very Nintendo thing to do. A WND, a weird Nintendo decision.
Mhm. Yeah. I'm curious what they do with the Switch Pro, but like I said in the last episode, big things for me: 4K, higher frame rate, and for the love of God, Nintendo, for all things holy, put Bluetooth in it so I can just pair up my headphones.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be nice.
Most people don't have wired headphones anymore. Most people do Bluetooth headphones.
Hey, you shut your mouth.
I said most people. Wired is still better in terms of full overall quality. Just for like day-to-day life going around, it's most people are doing like wireless ones.
It would be nice for like playing the Switch portably, right?
Mm-hmm. Like on a plane or something.
I literally have a pair of wired headphones in my backpack for when I, like travel, like go to an airport or whatever, just so I can play my Switch on the airplane. That's the only reason why they're in there.
Yep.
So it would be nice.
Please, Nintendo. I mean, I know you're going to disappoint me on some things, but don't disappoint me on this one.
Do you think they actually announce it during E3?
All the rumors pointing that they're going to announce the Switch Pro this week, and then E3 will be nothing but the games.
Okay.
So that way,
that would make more sense. Yeah, do it beforehand.
And so any of the third parties, when they're doing their stuff, can talk about Switch games.
Sure.
I'm just hoping that they don't just support new games with the Switch Pro, that they will do some patches to old games.
I can't imagine that we're going to see a lot of like Switch Pro exclusive titles. I imagine it just plays the old games better.
I hope they kind of take what Microsoft is doing, auto frame rate increase, up-resing, things of that nature.
I hope so. That's not a very Nintendo-y thing to do, but...
No, but remember that part of the rumors is that this new Switch, part of the way they're doing the 4K is DLSS. So basically, program machine learning to basically super sample and output at 4K. So it wouldn't change any change in the code besides just allowing it to be read by the DLSS.
They get darker.
Yeah. I was actually just thinking about that. It got really dark on that screen.
Yeah, no, you guys are in the dark now.
Oh, we're telling ghost stories. Oh, funny.
Scary ghost stories. Back in the day, our portable consoles had 4 AA batteries and would die in 3 hours.
Oh my God.
Oh, Sega Game Gear. It was 6 batteries and it died in 2.
Sure. Yeah, no.
I think I was thinking of the Sega Nomad, because I think the Nomad did 4.
Nope, it was 6.
The Nomad was 6 too?
Too.
I stand corrected.
Yep. Oh, I hope those things last longer than the Game Gears, because the transistors on the Game Gears go out, and so if you're going to get a Game Gear, you need to get it repaired.
Yeah. Again, one of the few times where emulation is probably okay, just because the actual hardware is failing.
Yep, we're getting one of those Retrons that actually play Game Gear games, which they have made.
There is, I forget what it's called, but there's a new handheld coming out that doesn't do emulation. It plays the actual original cartridges, and it doesn't emulate them. It actually plays the cartridges for like old Game Boy games
No.
on what was that called? Because they got delayed because of the canal that got blocked.
Oh.
Sure. I think my arcade gaming actually makes what you're talking about, where you actually put the cartridge in it.
Hmm.
I can Google
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I'm trying to remember the name of this thing.
Well, it doesn't matter too much. We don't need a bunch of dead time on the podcast.
Yeah. Well,
Something called a
well,
retro champ that you can actually that you can actually look up on my arcade gaming that lets you plug in your old like cartridges and it connects to your TV over HDMI.
so here's the thing about like the Retrons. They do that, but they aren't actually playing the game. They're using the game to recognize that you own it and then plays an emulation of it.
Gotcha.
This will actually play the actual game.
That's cool.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So
Hmm.
I will try to send you guys a link for that later. But
Okay.
I think we're at a good stopping point for the podcast. Guys, we're back together. The band, the Monster Squad.
The Monster Squad.
The Monster Squad who's about to get monster quads.
Oh, jeez. We'll explain that one on the next podcast.
Mm-hmm. But until next time, be safe, be kind, bottoms up.